Yeah, now it's just Ick Vault. All right, we good?
Yep, good to go.
Take one. Brick Vault interview.
We should say it before the snap.
Hey, man, we do things differently here.
Hey everyone, welcome to our chat with Brick Vault here. I'm Joshua Hanlon and this is Jack. He's joined us to talk all about the history of Brick Vault and what they do as a YouTube channel and talk about their approach to video making here and their history with the LEGO community. So I really appreciate you sitting down with me and kind of taking a deep dive into the community with me here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Happy to do it. Excited to do this. Yeah, it's been good. I've been watching your channel for ever. I don't know.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're like the best way to jump into like, I wonder what other people are, like so many times I'm thinking about like following people online and just being like, I wonder if these guys have interviewed this guy. And then I start searching through your videos.
There's probably a good chance we have.
Yeah. It's great. It's great.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you can enjoy watching them. That's our goal. We try to cover as much as we can. But today I definitely want the focus to be on what you guys have done because I've certainly enjoyed watching your videos over the years as well. So we'll just start then with kind of a history for yourself and the LEGO community and what kind of your journey with LEGO has been like over the years.
Okay, sure, yeah. I would say from a very young age, my family, we were basically lucky enough to just like have family friends that had kids that didn't play with their LEGO anymore. So that's how we got started. My brothers and I were given 2 giant bins of LEGO that were all completely broken down. Nothing came in their fully set forms, and there were spacemen and there were pirates and there were people from city things, but I didn't even know what a set was. I think I was like 4 years old at the time, so we just started building.
It's just a jumble of bricks that you
exactly.
could play with. Yeah.
We just started building, and it was cool to put like a weird pirate guy in like a spaceship that had palm trees or something. I don't know. Like you just kind of start building whatever, and then as the years go by. My mom, she's actually an art teacher and worked as an art teacher for many years. And so she was always encouraging us to just be as creative as possible. Like my older brother, who's also massively into, well, he helped co-found the channel and he's also massively into building LEGO. He became graphic designer and now he's doing level cap gaming and everything. And we've always been working through just different creative mediums. And so LEGO was, I think, one of those many mediums when we were younger until eventually we weren't using them as much. And then one day my parents were just like, oh, we gave all the LEGO to other people. And we're like, what? And we're like, well, they were given to you guys and then we'll give them. I was like, all right, fine. So that
was the end of that period.
Exactly,
of LEGO for
yeah.
you.
So that was probably like, I want to say 10, 11. And then from there, my brothers and I, we would always get sets for each other. Like we didn't know what to get each other as like brothers, I don't know, we'd always just get sets. It was always the giant pirate ships or SpongeBob or I don't know, like it was always sets, and that's kind of how we kind of kept it alive for a long time. And then I went off and I went traveling and working, doing completely other jobs when I was in college and everything. And after that, and then those were the dark ages. And then eventually coming back into it, I basically had been out of the country for about 3 years, and then I came back. And I was doing production stuff. And my brother, he had gotten way back into LEGO. He'd been doing tons of lugs, and I'd been following him. He'd been doing tons of Micropolis buildings and other giant minifig scale stuff. And so I was actually crashing at his house when I first got back. And so
you were the international traveler, just came back.
Exactly. And so there's all this stuff everywhere, and I was playing around with it. And he was like, yeah, we should, like, I'm thinking, you're doing all this video stuff and we're getting back into LEGO. Let's try to make a channel. That's basically what it was. And so we started filming from his garage. And it was really hot and it was very, very strenuous on the people that we had, because we had people building with us. Also, we had other people trying to host, because in the beginning I was like, I don't know if I want to host this. Like maybe we can sort of divvy things out. And so it was crazy. There was planes flying overhead, and there was no sound record. It was kind of a production nightmare.
It's what you would expect out of someone's garage.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. And eventually, things started actually kind of looking like self-sustainable, which was great. And so we started playing around with expanding into a larger space. And my brother and his wife, they're doing a move down to San Diego. So we moved down to San Diego. And yeah, we were in a small space, and now we're in a much larger space, which we just did a huge tour.
Yes. So we'll have a separate video on that as well for everyone to watch in the whole
That's right.
studio tour space. But
so the more we build,
impressive.
yeah, the more we do it, the bigger we want to build. That's basically what's been happening. Is like every time we get something big built, we're like, imagine this giant ship had a huge play area around it, and then that's basically how our mind has been working. We're like, all right, how big can we get it? How much more can we do it?
There's always more that can be done. That's
Exactly, yeah. It's so much more fun to have those giant projects like to reach for, as opposed to kind of keeping the steady pace. I think both my brother and I are like, okay, have we been doing the same thing for a couple of months? Like, this feels weird. Let's build this giant thing and you know,
mix it up a bit.
You got to stick the stick into the spokes on your own sometimes. You know, like
that's a good way.
Like, this is going too smoothly. And then yeah, so that's been our sort of approach, I think, for at least last year and a half, 2 years.
Right. So
Yeah.
you mentioned, you went to college and had sort of a dark age there. In college, were you studying like video production related stuff, or was that all separate from what you kind of are doing now?
I was both yes and no. I was a culture studies major for anthropology, and then with a minor of documentary filmmaking. So there was definitely like learning. So I had to do audio design and editing, and so I took a little bit of each of those things, because that's how they try to teach you for documentary film. It's like, okay, don't get good at any of these things. Just learn how to do a little bit of everything.
The minimum, sort of.
Exactly. So it was, yeah, I had a spattering of all of it, but I definitely learned more after the first couple of months of just working with cameras during the YouTube, during the first few months of working out of the garage than my entire college, whatever.
That's true. You learn more on the job generally. I think that's true for a lot of people.
You take one class in audio design, and you're like, cool, that worked for a few weeks. I forgot it all now. So that's the unfortunate reality of kind of playing around with, unless you've got a very specialized sort of skill set that your major is making you focus on, then yeah, you just learn on the job. That's basically it.
Sure, yeah. You mentioned then that your brother got back super into Lego, so when you guys came up with the idea, like, hey, maybe let's start this YouTube channel, how exactly did that work as you first decided what type of content to make and what you would start doing with all that?
Like, my brother's really familiar with the YouTube scene, because he, at that point, had been sustaining himself completely on his YouTube gaming channel, Level Cap Gaming, for maybe 4 years, like completely sustaining himself on that. That was his full-time thing. So he was very plugged into just sort of how the YouTube community worked. And so we came at it from a pretty logical point of like, all right, this is the kind of content that is being made. This is the kind of content that we know we can do with the space that we have. This is what we want to do. This is how we can try to make something a little bit different, a little bit better. We tried doing more long form, edit intensive production, quality intensive edits, especially in the beginning. And we were playing around with like, okay, it'd be fun to get into the history of some Lego. We started doing Lego minifigure collections, which was really fun for us. It's super, that world gets crazy, because I was like, I'll just do one, not knowing that much about the history of Lego minifig production or anything like that. So being very green and just kind of jumping in was definitely funny, because you do a video and everyone's like, oh, you forgot this one thing, and then the entire comment section's about the one thing you forgot, which is fun. But yeah, so we started doing tons of collection videos, tons of review videos, and then that started getting, once again, it was this routine. We're like, all right, this is working. Let's do a giant build, because that'll be crazy. And then we did that, and we're like, that was fun. People liked that. Let's start doing more of that. So once again, yeah, it's just it was, I think, initially mostly reviews, then it was collection videos, and then we started doing some news stuff. We started doing a top 10 mocks of the week video, which has been a lot of fun, forcing you to just go out and just look at everything people are putting out on the internet for Lego. And then it's the craziest thing is jumping online and still going through all the different builders that you now follow, like 300 different people or 500 different people, and you're like, I've never seen that before. I've never seen somebody try to do something like that. And you realize there's just an endless amount of crazy, weird, creative connections people can make, and it's just mind-boggling to get surprised every single week with that kind of stuff. So that's been a lot of fun. That's I think the most fun for Mike. Mike and I, we switch off doing that video, and it's always like, dude, look what this guy did. He's like, I should be working on this other thing, but look what this guy did. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So it's been fun. That's always good.
It is true though. Yeah. I mean, obviously, so. For Beyond the Brick, we go to like a ton of these shows, and a common question we get is like, do you guys get bored with going to these shows? And you would think we would, but we really don't, because it's such a variety you can do with Lego. I mean, it's limitless. So you show up to a show with like hundreds of builders, and there's tons of new stuff that you've never seen before, and new ways people use parts, and new builds based on some other TV show that's new or something. And so it's not boring, even though you can go to these shows all the time and see new stuff.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like I've got like a common thing where I'll go online and just see like, this is a guy that did a thatched roof. There's like 50 different thatched roof designs. It's the funniest thing. You can see somebody just do a thatched roof, and I don't know how many different creative, weird combinations. And every time I see a new one, I'm like, I gotta put that in top 10 mocks, because it's like people seeing how everybody else have done it, and they're just like, oh, like I can do this differently. And it's this idea that like, when you look at a certain type of build and you say, okay, I need to get these certain kinds of pieces to fit in a certain way, people will figure it out. People will. There's enough diversity of pieces and connections within the Lego system of pieces that you can get there, which is the craziest thing. Like it's hard to describe, but every time I talk with my friends that have been out of the Lego, they're like, this is Lego? I'm like, yeah, dude, they've been doing some stuff.
Exactly. It's not like you remember it as a kid.
No, it's not. And then it's also really fun. We have a few different drawers that are, I think they're stacked underneath a pile of stuff that you guys didn't see, but we have drawers that are specifically all pieces that came out between a certain set of years. So you go back through and you're like, oh, this is like the weird stuff they were working with. So sometimes if you're caught in a weird kind of build, and you're like, I need a connection that's just doesn't make any sense. I need to figure out a thing here with something weird, and then you go into an old part bin and you just see all the different weird connections people were creating or using. That's what Lego was producing back then. So that's actually kind of fun, organizing parts by like a set of years from production lines, because it's a totally different playground. You see a lot of the same stuff, but there's things that have been very different and unique from back then that they've cut out, and then all this new weird connections that they've been bringing in. So it's fun just jumping into that weird world of all these fun, weird little parts. Everything matches just right with the system.
Right,
Lego.
exactly.
I don't know why I quoted that. I recently watched that documentary, or The Toys That Made Us.
Oh, right.
And they kept on like trolling that one guy talking about the system.
That's true. That was really good, by the way. Yeah,
It
for
was
anyone who
good.
hasn't watched that out there, The Toys That Made Us episode on Lego, I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
So it's well worth checking out.
Yeah. Have you seen the house one yet?
Oh, yes, yeah, the Lego House documentary as well, yes. That was also quite good, yeah, and really gives a great behind the scenes of like what they were thinking with the Lego House design.
Yeah, I totally haven't seen it yet.
Okay. It's also, I would recommend watching it, yeah. Especially I think for people who've been to the Lego House, you definitely get a much better understanding of it. Because one thing that we noticed with that, not to go off on a tangent here real quick, but is that like when we first posted our videos from the Lego House, is like tons of the comments were like, thought that it was made out of Lego bricks because it's just called the Lego House. And so it's kind of misunderstanding of like, why did they name it that and everything. But when you watch that documentary, you get a much better understanding of why they did that.
Sure.
It kind of, it helps you know the decisions that were made there.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it is worth watching.
I will get around to it. It's like the first thing on my queue. Every time I go onto Netflix, I'm like, okay, one more episode of another thing, though.
It's always more to watch. But I did want to ask you, so
Yes.
you mentioned all the different types of content that you create. Do you feel there is kind of like a core video type for Brick Vault, or is it really just all those different types of videos that come together and that's kind of what Brick Vault is?
I don't know. It's hard to say. We have kind of a schedule, which is what keeps us sort of not kind of ripping apart at the seams.
Yeah.
It's like Saturday is news, Sunday is top 10 mocks. Monday, Mike does vlog stuff, which is basically what we've been messing around doing for like a weekly update for us in the channel.
Okay.
And then Tuesday, Wednesday is kind of open. We usually do set reviews on those days. Thursday is a collection video. Friday is a custom build, usually having to do with the web store that we make instructions for. So
you're releasing a video every single day then?
yeah, and then during more crazy, like, summer wave release things, then it'll be multiple videos in a day. And we've started to play around with some daily mini news episodes. We're always trying new things.
Sure.
Like, we only just started doing that a couple weeks ago, but it's been fun. It's kind of a fun thing, like Mike and I do it sort of competitively. If we see an article that we think is good for making a video, like I'll set a thing on my watch, I'm like, go! And then he just like runs in, and then he's doing it, and then he's like, oh, I forgot a thing, I saw some more information, and he run back in. So
it's like a breaking news thing almost.
yeah, it's fun to be sort of competitive like that. Sort of you set weird boundaries for yourself and you try to have fun with it, which I think is, especially when you make all your own hours and you make all your own schedule, it's so easy to kind of get sidetracked, or it's so easy to kind of lose yourself in the ether of production. So
it really is, yeah.
It's good having other people to work with and just like, okay, today so-and-so is on social media, so like we'll do like Instagram posts or something. We'll just try to make the best post of the week or something competitively, because we'll switch off those tasks and rag on each other if we do like a bad post or something.
It's like, your post got 10 likes, you're fired from Instagram.
It's like, look at the corner of the shot, you got that other thing in there. It's a horrible composition. Of course, Instagram doesn't help you at all. You take the picture and then it crops it forward and you're like, wait, what? Like, guys, why would you automatically crop your picture for it? So
but
I don't know.
friendly competition sort of keeps everybody going there.
Yes, exactly. It makes it more fun for us, and I think it makes for better content. And it keeps things fresh. It keeps things interesting because, like I said, we're always throwing a stick into our own spokes in terms of just like, all right, we're cruising on something. Let's try to jump off and keep going again. Jump on and go in another direction, or it's I don't know.
Always explore new avenues, see what else there is.
Yeah.
There's always new interesting content to make for sure.
Yeah, so definitely for the future, we're going to be starting to work on much larger projects. That's a general direction that we're going to be going through. So we're probably going to be making videos that are more like progress videos on giant projects. So that's something that I can, I guess, think of that's happening in the future, but who knows? Maybe we'll have a fun idea on a totally different type of episode thing in a couple of weeks, and then we're making something else. But generally, we've been pretty consistent with what we're doing on our schedule right now. With the weekend videos, they haven't changed. In fact, we number our news videos. So I think I just did like news episode 128, which is like a once a week video. So it's like more than 2 years of a weekly news update.
Yeah. No, that's impressive. Yeah, when you can do that stuff consistently like that.
And then top 10 mocks. What's top 10 mocks at, Mike?
I think I just did episode 89.
Okay. It's funny, my number scheme is way off. I think I did like 80. I think we've like lost track.
We need to get on the same. It's time to revisit the whiteboard.
I'm just taking your number now, like adding like one.
Yeah, but I repeated some. Maybe I did a number.
Some numbering, so
I think I did. Every now and then I'll do a video in the same project as the last one and not retitle it.
yeah,
So if you copy from
Jack,
over there.
Please watch my video. I'm gonna watch yours. Please watch mine. So I'm not repeating.
Yeah. That's what happens.
It is what it is. You figure it out.
Yeah, it's pretty organized.
It's natural that way. Like we make mistakes.
Yeah.
But I like, now that we've gotten everyone here involved on the interview, this is a good time. This is a good time to bring up, because I wanted to talk about kind of the different people involved with the channel now, because as I was researching for the interview and looking back at some of your older interviews, I noticed in some of the early videos, you've got a bunch of different people doing reviews and things. So talk about how that was in the early days and kind of how that's changed over the years to where you are now.
All right, so when we started off, it was strictly, I was pretty much the only person doing hands-on anything in terms of video production, editing, anything like that. So I needed to have help people building. We had friends that were really into Lego. Also, some of our friends that were into Lego, we're in the LA Orange County area, so they're all trying to like make it as actors. I'm like, all right, we're gonna have people on
The
screen.
stereotype is true there.
Dude, it's such a grind for those people. I feel so bad. But yeah, so it was great having people that were into acting and that like could handle themselves on screen, because we thought that would be a good element to have for actually making videos and having somebody like, we wanted to have like faces on the screen. That was something that was maybe a little bit different. And so we had a lot of friends just coming in and building. And so some were actor friends, some were just friends that we knew. And then when we moved, like, people aren't going to be driving down from LA to San Diego to build a Lego set or a couple of Lego sets and come back. So we had to change everything up. So it turned into pretty much me working solo for a bit. And we've had different people coming in and on. I had another editor, video producer working with me for a bit, and then he moved on to other things, and then Mike jumped onto the scene. So it was, for a long time, like, my brother would jump in and out a little bit for like some of the bigger projects here and there, because he would be focused on the gaming channel. But it was pretty much me, and we had the actors in the beginning. We moved, they stayed. Mike jumped on eventually, and then it was like Mike and I for a long time. And only pretty recent, well, Ramon, you've been here how many months? 3 or 4? We don't know.
So now there's
one day, like, I got some food.
He showed up one day, and yeah, so things have been jumping around. But yeah, it's been pretty much, my brother, it's funny because he's almost never in the videos, but the amount he's actually involved behind the scenes is so staggering that people are like, he doesn't even do anything for the channel. I'm like, no, he's like, is the channel. And he just like the whole Ghost, everything there has been completely his idea. Like, a lot of the base design was his and stuff. And even a lot of the vision for how this whole area is set up and everything, he's very much, he likes, for him it's sort of like a relaxing time to kind of jump in, and he'll be building when he's not working on his other channel, because he's been doing video games for so long. He's like, ooh, I get to play around with
something
Lego.
different now here, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, and it's like, and I don't need to be part of the production. Like, you guys can do that. I'm just gonna come in and build. But yeah, so that's how it's been. It's kind of played around. We had a lot of smaller people working, just doing little things in the beginning. But the core has remained pretty solid for the past couple of years, I think, yeah.
Okay, and how did you and Mike first get connected?
I met him at a Lego store.
Really?
Yeah, and he was like, I'm such a big fan. No.
And you were like,
Yeah, no, he was like, what are you doing buying all this Lego? Yeah, that's how it went down. And I was like, I don't know, this is my job, man. And yeah, and then he kind of, I met him pretty much at the right time, because the previous person we were working with was moving on. He was coming in, I was like, wow, he has a really good skill set for doing video production, all the things that I needed to have. And I was like, yo, if you've got time, I got space.
For a lunch and say hey.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's work together.
Yeah, because we were talking about it.
I was looking for actually this type of job back then.
Yeah, Mike has been he's got a lot of YouTube aspirations.
Okay.
If you can't tell through his vlogs.
he just stays up all night watching Casey Neistat.
Dude, that's not, you got it. You hit the nail on the head right there.
That is actually true.
Yeah. It was funny. That's actually one of the first things we talked about was Casey Neistat. I was like, I don't know. We were just talking about. Yeah.
He's awesome. I mean, yeah.
Oh, he's an insane person.
Yeah.
He's a madman. But yeah, incredibly impressive to see what one really passionate, skilled person can actually accomplish. You're just sitting there just like, oh, I need to step my game up a little bit. It's good to watch those people because you can see what a really lean, mean, like focused thing can do, and you're just like, I can do that,
Definitely.
And you try at least.
Yeah, it's something to strive towards.
Yeah, it's always encouraging to, and we'll watch other vloggers and other people that just are really good at. That's actually been a big inspiration, is just watching other YouTubers.
Keep yourself inspired in some sort of way.
Yeah, because there's so many talented people out there just doing so many cool things that it's just fun to try to match or recreate or figure out how they did something and then hopefully try to occupy that space for as long as you you have stamina for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mike also adds the exotic European flair as well
It's
to the
funny,
channel.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Say European.
My accent brought me to good places and bad places on this channel.
Wait, can we tell the hairpiece story?
Go for it.
Okay, we were getting demonetized like maybe a year and a half ago for like inappropriate content, and we're like, what? And I went back through this video, and I'm seeing Mike. Mike did the video, and I'm looking through it, and I can see the annotations, like the script, and he's talking about a minifigure.
YouTube scripting, by the way.
Automatic YouTube script.
Yeah.
So this is what YouTube thinks you're saying.
Okay.
And he was talking about a minifigure hairpiece, and it was like, Mike, you can't say that. You can't say that. YouTube's demonetizing. Because I've got like, tags for kid friendly and all this
Right,
stuff. And
yeah.
I'm just like, this isn't kid friendly. That's what YouTube thinks. So
The accent comes back.
So yeah,
that's good.
that's happened a couple of
I
times.
guess that like people used to not understand me when I first started.
Yeah,
And now it's like, hey, I can actually understand what you're saying.
I think people have just gotten accustomed to it. They're just like, oh,
Yeah.
it's just Mike. Yeah, he doesn't even think he's got an accent. You said that the other day.
Have it,
That's
but
how accents work.
Yeah, that's fair.
You
Good
don't walk
point.
around knowing how weird you talk.
That's true. Touche.
first like started recording, I was like, so that's how I sound. I don't see a bright light in front of me.
Oh, it's good times. So, yeah.
That is funny, yeah. But it seems like you guys got a great thing going now, so
Yeah.
you've got it all down, and like you said, the fans are used to it, so it's good stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
We
like a rivalry at this point, like you being like this like.
we try to
fancy,
mess with
nice
each other.
Vocabulary guy, I'm being this weird guy with some Russian accent.
Yeah, everybody thinks he's Russian, which is the
Yeah,
best.
well, that's Americans. I mean, we're so like stereotypical.
It's like, oh, this region of the world,
Right.
you're this one thing. Yeah.
there's like 5 countries outside the U.S. and you have to be from one of them.
Exactly. That's a very good way to put it.
Yeah. But so you talked about like YouTube aspirations and things, and something I noticed with your channel is it only started in like 2015 that you guys really started actively posting videos on Brick Vault, and so you've grown really pretty quickly in just the last few years here, which has been very impressive. So talk about maybe what you think is the reasons for some of that success, or how you were able to grow that quickly in the YouTube scene, which obviously has a lot of people creating Lego content.
Well, part of it was like I said, my brother and I, we came at it from a very kind of logistical way. We're like, all right, let's actually spend the time and effort and energy to like, if we want to make this a career thing, how would we go about doing it? And to do it is like, we planned for probably like a month or 6 weeks before we released the first video in terms of how we wanted things to look on the camera, playing around with equipment, playing around with mock. We actually have an original mock episode of a set review that we never released, just as a complete test run.
It's like the pilot episode.
Exactly. We have like an unreleased pilot episode. It's the Ghostbusters idea set.
Yeah.
That's our pilot episode
Okay.
that was never released. And that was just purely to be like, okay, let's put this gag in here, let's put this thing in there. How long did it take us? We were very efficient as to like how long each little section of our video was going to take us to produce, because we wanted to be able to produce every day. And that was a big thing. So we came at it from I think a little bit more of a logistical professional point. And even back in 2015, the competition is insanely high. And I think we sort of looked at it like, okay, if we want to actually do this, we should start looking at this a little bit more professionally from the very, very get-go. And then we played around with what we thought was going to be a good-looking video. It's interesting because when you do YouTube, it's like you have to play with what you want to do as a creator, and then also like how you think your audience is going to receive that. And it's this combination of what you want to do and what you think people are going to actually enjoy watching. So, and I think we've just been really lucky with that crossover. Doing what we want, building giant, crazy, weird things, doing collection videos. Like, all right, yeah, this is working. Like, we can do this. People like this. Okay, let's keep going. And then also it's that combination. I think Donkey described it best, where he was like, you just have to throw something new. Like, you always have to throw a little bit something new.
Yeah,
Whatever
and
it
just
is.
always keep things interesting. But that's certainly a unique approach, because I think that your approach to starting the channel is certainly very different than I would say the vast majority of YouTubers, where it's like, I'm
True.
going to create years of probably somewhat awful, embarrassing content until eventually I figure out what I'm doing. And
That's
then
a great way to go, though. That's a great way to go. And people still do it that way. But it is interesting, just with that window of creation like that, I feel like it gets a little bit more narrow as the years go by, just with the flooding of content, especially when the algorithm was like, hey, we promote things that come out daily now. And you're like, oh boy. So that was when we started, but that was already happening. So it's really hard for people, I think, that are starting maybe in the more casual sense. For us, it was like, we're gonna make a video every day. We're gonna figure out to make a video that we're happy with, that we can produce on a daily platform. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's certainly a big aspect of it. That's when we really started to see growth with the Beyond the Brick channels, when we started going to enough shows that we could do that daily content and have a video coming out every day.
Yeah.
And like you said, the algorithm rewards that type of content,
It
and that's what
definitely does.
YouTube is looking for. So that is really, I think, when channels start to take off, is when they have that consistent type of content like that.
We also pre-schedule, like we have consistent, all of our main videos of the day. Sometimes we'll do 2 a day, but all of our main videos of the day, we try to stick with the exact same time of day every single day. Most of the time.
Things happen.
I was a little late because of Comic-Con this last time, but that happens. That's
And
unavoidable.
something I always find really interesting to look at with a YouTube channel is kind of what the most popular videos are and what is done well over the years. And something I noticed with you guys is many of your most popular videos are the minifig collections that you show off.
True.
I know you've mentioned that a few times. So what has that been like for you guys making those videos, and was that something you were surprised at first with how well those did? And I'm sure because of that you've continued to make them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So like we started, my brother, he had been collecting figs. This was one of the things I sort of discovered when I first came back. He had a giant display case just full of, I don't know, probably maybe 100, 150 Star Wars figures. And his whole goal was to get one of each character from all of the original trilogy. And then he had a bunch of Batman figures as well. And so he just had them, and we were doing the channel for maybe a couple of months, and it was his idea. It was just almost random. He was like, hey, you know what I did? What? Oh, I just decided to get the last of the Batman figures, and we can make a video on it. And I was like, you got all of them? You got the Comic-Con ones? Just like, don't tell my wife. So that was just kind of a fun thing. He just really wanted to get it, and we made like a little custom display for it. We did a funny little video, and we didn't think much of it because the first week it didn't really look like people were watching it that much, or in the first couple of weeks. And then a month or two later, my brother was like, yo, look at the Batman video. What? Oh, whoa, it's like bigger than any of our other videos, and people just were consistently watching it. And we realized, or this is our theory at least, it's kind of like it's this you get to create like a living catalog of just everything about a minifigure, and all the history of when it came out, and I can see why that could be interesting for a lot of people. We just did it because it would be really fun, and we're like, cool, this is where this guy was. He came from this. This was a really weird, crazy set, and that's why he cost so much. So we did that once, and our basic thing was, okay, we'll just use the revenue we got from the one video to pay for, I think it was like all of the Clone Wars figs or something, all the clones.
Okay.
And then we did that video, and then we're like, oh, whoa, like people really like these videos. This is actually a lot of fun, and it's kind of fun to get into like the weird analytical stuff, because there's always that aspect of the maybe the Lego culture. There's that weird, just kind of like, ooh, let me sit down and do all this weird research for a while, because people just love doing that. Anybody that runs a Bricklink store or something like that.
Which I think is Lego lends itself really well to that. Being a company that's based in Denmark, and they've had these products, like different unique products all over the world, and they've been around so long now, it's like there's unending rabbit trails to go on with Lego research.
It's crazy, yeah. So for the Star Wars things, we're following this other guy who's a different Star Wars minifigure collector who made a website, and he had all this information from his own personal collection. So we're going through that, we're going through Brickset, we're going through Bricklink, because if you can't order the fig off of a Bricklink link, then you can't get them. So that's a pretty good way to figure out exactly what's really there. and and it just kind of just goes on from there. And we started, basically, we just used all the rev from all those original collection videos to just start expanding on all the collection videos. It just became this cycle that fed itself. So that was really, really fun. And then of course all the new figures come out. So now we have to do update videos on all of them, which is like gonna take forever. But it's been good. The collection thing, when we first envisioned the channel, I don't think we'd even once mentioned the possibility of collection videos. It was just a random video that did well, that was fun to do, and we just kept doing it.
Yeah. I think that's fascinating with, my own channel as well as, watching other YouTube channels, is seeing that stuff that takes off. I think part of the fun of running a YouTube channel is seeing like those surprises that a video takes way off and you're like, oh, I didn't really expect that. I would have had no idea that this particular video would be what everyone decides to watch.
It's really interesting to see what takes off. I think I watched your video with Jang and he was like, yeah, I just did a regular Lego review. I was mostly buying. I was like, what?
Exactly.
What? Oh, yeah. So it's funny to see how, as long as you've just got like a drive and an idea to kind of go for something and to just go at it, I guess, with like a clear mind and just to try new things, eventually something will stick, I guess. I don't know. We got lucky with a few different formats, I suppose. The same thing happened with news. People like the weekly news updates, just kind of compiling all the different little bits of information. So, hey, if you want to catch up on what happened in the world of Lego this week, this is all the stuff. And so that, I think people have liked those format videos. So there's just certain little things that we like to sort of, I don't know, to try out,
exactly.
to work on. Every single day is a different thing to work on. Every single day is like, it's great, especially when a bunch of new stuff comes out, because we weren't expecting all those new sets from Comic-Con. So I was like, hey guys, so drop everything you're gonna do today. We're all building Lego for the whole day.
No, not building Lego again.
That's like, those are the surprise, we call them like sort of slingshot days, where it's like, all right, let's just build everything and just get that stuff out and go back to what we were doing originally. So,
it always keeps everything interesting then. Have there been any videos that you maybe put a lot of time into or you thought would do well that then did not?
Absolutely, yeah, totally. Well, actually, some of them have done all right, but there's things that I thought were gonna do like really well, because I was just looking, I was like, what if we got the scales of every single, like, how big in real life would the giant Star Wars ships be if you were to make perfect minifig scale version of like Star Destroyer, or perfect minifig scale version of a Death Star or something. So we made a whole video about how these ships would look like in real life. So if you were to put a Star Destroyer on the ground outside, how big would that be? Like a regular, and it's really big, by the way. It's like from the baseball diamond to halfway to outfield or something. I don't know. It's huge. It's huge.
Something massive, insane.
Yeah. So we made that, and it took a really long time to produce the video. So the amount of time that it took to make it, I don't think it justified the views that it got. And the few things have happened like that. I'm trying to think. They're maybe just some very large custom builds that we worked on. We're like, this is gonna be awesome. People are gonna love it. Oh, nobody cares. So, and then conversely, you make a video that you think is gonna be just a regular video, and you don't spend, it's just a normal video. We made, it was like Every Mighty Micros or something, and that got like 2 million views. It was just like it was all the Mighty Micro sets from one wave. So it was like, hey, these are all 6 of the Mighty Micro sets. That's all it was.
Yeah,
It's just a regular review video that we generally do, and it just did really well. And we're like, what's going on? Did the algorithm accidentally promote this or something?
Right, yeah. It seems like in our case, when a video does like that, it's generally something is like there happens to be other really popular videos related to that topic, or with those in the title or something.
They kind of feed off each other.
Which we didn't maybe realize when we posted that, but we were like, oh, well, that worked out well. There's a video with 10 million views that's also on that topic and sending us all these views.
Yeah, super interesting how that works. Sometimes you have no idea how or why something got somewhere, which is cool. It's fine. Those are like usually it's the latter, where we'll make something and it accidentally does well, as opposed to work really hard on something that doesn't. The more you do the videos, the less mistakes like that you make, or you just get better at guessing, I suppose, what people may or may not want to watch. But who knows? I don't know. It always changes, and you always get surprised by one thing or another. So, yeah.
So you figure it out as time goes on. But another thing I wanted to make sure we touched on as well, I think you mentioned this just briefly earlier, is the online store. So talk about how that kind of fits in with the Brick Vault YouTube channel and how that all works together and what you guys have going on over there.
Okay, so yeah, the basic idea, it's funny, we talked about it maybe a year and a half ago initially, just like, oh, let's play around with trying to monetize the channel outside of just the regular YouTube, and that's because demonetization strikes were happening, and we got like a little bit of a scare, I suppose. We didn't get hit like crazy hard or anything, but it definitely was like, whoa, YouTube isn't as consistent as we thought.
Need some diversity there. Things
Exactly.
not just on YouTube, sure.
And then it probably took many months for anything to actually start taking off, because we had to develop a website and learn how to do everything, in terms of uploading and sending out the emails, and it's a whole other animal to work with Shopify and all that other stuff. So we eventually got all that logistical stuff under control, and we were talking with some cool designers, and we started working with them. Generally, when we work with a designer, it's like they've got an idea or they've got a build that we think is really cool, and we say, hey, this is really cool. Is it possible? First of all, do you want to work with us? Second of all, is it even possible to make this a real build? Because if you see something as a digital file, there's no guarantee that's going to be a real thing.
Translates into the physical bricks.
So I don't know how Lego builds stuff, but like we try to do as much as we can in terms of we'll see a design, we'll say, okay, this works, but like if we want to turn this into a physical build, definitely that's going to be 2 weeks, so let's try to build something a little bit different. We build the whole thing out, we see if it works or if it doesn't work. Are there any weird rare pieces that nobody can buy? We've got to change that, because we don't want to sell the instructions for something that's unobtainable.
Right.
Or even rare stuff that's like, it's sort of around, but if a bunch of people buy the instructions, then like the people at the end of that line, it's going to be really hard for them to find those pieces. So there has been a little bit of learning. There's been a learning curve in terms of figuring out how all of that works, but pretty much we've got a pretty solid system now. We've been working with designers. Some designers, they just purely do everything on their own. And we basically, we split rev share between them. So like the designers will get paid, and it's kind of this fun way of sort of supporting the creators. It supports us here at the channel. And it's a lot of fun, because our idea is to try to get really high quality, very good looking mocks that we think people would like to have, mostly display stuff. Pretty strong stuff. I don't know, you can play around with some of those
it
fighters.
Won't fall apart if you touch it, sort of thing.
Yeah. So the idea is we have enough built stuff here in the studio that if we've got a mock that is really, really weak, I'll just look at it and I'll just feel like this guttural, just like, oh, I don't want to touch you. Like, you're such a pain. You're such a pain. I'm just going to leave you there. I don't want to have that feeling about anything that we produce. So that's sort of our cutoff. But it's not something generally that I would consider like playable. Yeah. There's definitely stuff you can. Like a lot of the smaller Batmobiles, they're just small Batmobiles. You can definitely play around with them. So that's the idea, is we just try to we have a pretty strict cutoff in terms of what we try to put up on the web store. It's been up there for a while. And we only have, I don't even know, we only have like maybe 20 different builds up there. And probably every day people are submitting designs and like, will this work? And like, no, sorry, but thanks for, thanks.
That was another thing I was going to ask you about. Do you encourage people to send in their designs?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. But we do have a very strict cutoff, I would say.
Want quality, yeah.
Yeah, we want really high quality stuff. And if I feel bad, but there's definitely people where I've seen like really good builds come in and we're like, that's a really, really good version of this ship, but we're working with somebody that does this ship, and it's like the same one or something. Okay. So there have definitely been times when we've turned away very good designs purely on the grounds that we have the same type of design or something that we think is just a little bit, like just hits that a little bit higher. And that way, I think we want to differentiate our store a little bit by only being known for having whatever we put up is like we want it to be really, really good. Mm-hmm. The best we could possibly get. If somebody submits a design, the first thing I do is try to see every possible version of that thing online and be like, okay, is this actually the best we can do? And then we'll work with people. Sometimes people do redesigns and stuff, and we'll have an idea on how to redesign. Sometimes it's very collaborative, back and forth, just sending emails back and forth and LDDs back and forth. That's really cool. How about we do this? Oh, so-and-so just developed it. Like with what we were working on recently with the DeLorean was really fun.
Oh, yeah.
Really, really talented guy. And we were just like, hey, this is so cool. How about if we just do this? And he's like, yeah, I like that. And I also added this on. And so sometimes
Bounce
it's like,
ideas off of
exactly,
each other,
yeah. So it's fun. I think the builders like to push themselves. And then when they start seeing the results of sort of getting a little bit of support revenue back from sales, then they start building more stuff. It pretty much all that just kind of amounts to like, all right, with this extra stuff, let's just put it right back into the Lego, which is fun. And it's fun to see people being like, hey, with all the sales, I decided to build a fleet of this or whatever. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's that mutually beneficial relationship. That's awesome. You can help support builders. Like you said, it helps keep the channel going. That's great when you can have that work for everyone.
Yeah. And it's just fun, and it's just different. And the custom building part of it, I get so much more fired up about than set reviews. Like the sets are cool, and I like to see what Lego is putting out there in terms of this is the latest flavor of the day. This is the latest thing. Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes it's not as good. But then when you see the custom building stuff, often you can find some more interesting, weird, creative places for the Lego to go because they don't have quite as strict of a structural stability quota to reach, or sometimes there's certain types of parts that Lego sets like need to have in order for that production season for a certain piece, or So there's restrictions that Lego designers, I think, have, which when you're not limited to that, can start making some really cool, weird custom builds. So we've been having a lot of fun. There's a bunch of really cool stuff that we're excited about. Every week or month or so, we're just like, oh, but this next one is gonna be the really cool one, and then that happens every month. So that's a lot of fun. It's like there's just new stuff coming down the line all the time. So I think personally, that's probably what I get most excited about now, is working with new people and just playing around with new designs. And
Finding new talented builders out there. When you're researching for builders, where is that you typically look? Flickr or other sites? How does that work?
Well, it's been good because we've been doing the top 10 mocks. So like we'll reach out to some of the cool people that we've seen on Flickr by just... Because we sift through Flickr every single week. Every single week we try to see what all that top stuff is. And then also just people that we've known, like local builders, for example, in the community, like people that we've met at conventions and saying like, that's really cool, let's talk, that kind of thing.
You can do there, yeah.
Yeah, because it's also really good being able to like talk to somebody on the phone about a certain thing. Emails can be this fickle sort of like, hey, so let's try this. And then like a week later, you're like, is this guy
finally getting
And then we'll be that guy sometimes. So it's
like a year later, you finally send enough emails back and forth to figure out
yeah, we finally figured it out. It's not going to work. No, so it's just this, every builder is different. Every approach is different. Like I said, there's some guys that we work with that are just purely, it's like, I'll look at that and be like, yep, I had nothing to do with that mock. That's just like an amazing thing that this person figured out completely. Even in terms of doing all the research for what's a rare piece, what's a part that could work or not work. So yeah, it's fun. It's just fun kind of playing around with every little aspect of the world. You can play with the digital stuff. How does it translate into real Lego bricks? So yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to try all that different stuff out then. So I know we just finished up with Comic-Con. You guys were there and got some of the sets and everything. That's really awesome.
Yes.
Will there be other Lego conventions or other places where fans might be able to meet you in person coming up in the next 6 months or a year here?
Basically, all the ones we go to is Star Wars Days, which ended not that long ago. That's at Legoland. We do Bricks by the Bay, which we accidentally skipped this year. Totally forgot. Sorry. You guys were there. You're like, oh, it's just at Bricks. I was like, oh yeah,
whoops.
I'm supposed to go to that. And then, but no, we'll do Bricks LA every year. We do Bricks Star Wars Days, and then those are pretty much the local ones. So it would be Bricks by the Bay, Bricks LA, Star Wars Days.
Bricks LA is in January every year, right? So
yes, right at the beginning of the year. So that would be the next closest one, I think.
anyone
Is
wants
that
to see
6
you in
months from
person,
now?
that
Okay. I have the month on my watch in case you couldn't.
your all-knowing watch there.
Yeah. So that's probably the closest one of any of the conventions, I think, unless something pops up before.
Okay.
But yeah, those are the conventions that we do. And who knows? People are trying to get us to go to like BrickCon in Seattle. They're like, it's closer than the other ones. Like, it's not close.
It's still pretty far.
It's still not close.
You're at the bottom of California.
Yeah, it's the entire height. The entire, yes, height. He smirked at height.
Yeah, no, the whole West Coast you have to go up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good take.
But yeah, it'd be awesome if you guys could get out to other shows because
I know,
there's lots of cool stuff out there. You got to get out and see it all.
Yeah, I know. You guys have a good gig set up where it's a Lego channel, but it's also like, I feel like you could integrate a travel channel into
Yes.
What are the spicy foods in this town?
We actually have started, we don't talk about it much, but we actually did start a second channel called Destinations of History where we record
there you
videos
go.
of, like, interesting, because of my
Perfect.
interest in history, we record videos at like the more interesting, exotic, like historical places we go to.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, we recorded a video like last year, we were at like an abandoned American spy station outside Berlin.
Whoa.
And we were like walking through, so stuff like that. It's like cool places like that we find.
That is cool.
So yeah, that's another thing that's very small at this point, but just some other non-Lego related content that's fun to produce sometimes.
Yeah, and that's funny. The longer you do a channel first, because I can tell like this Lego channel was very much an inspiration of my brother being like, ooh, I want to start doing YouTube stuff, but not about video games. Hey, let's work together on Lego. And I was like, yeah, let's do the Lego. And then now I've been doing the Lego for a while. I'm like, oh, I wonder if it'd be fun to do other types of videos too. That's just, it's this weird natural place that once you've been on the platform for long enough, your mind just starts going there.
It really does, yeah. I never realized now how much like I really enjoy creating content, like whether it's Lego or just videos in general. You get to a point where just creating content in general becomes really fun.
Exactly.
And that's a lot of just a lot of fun.
This
to
would
do.
be a fun video to make. It has nothing to do with what my channel's about, but this would be a really fun video to do. Yeah, so that is kind of funny. Once you start getting into the rhythm of it, it's sort of just like, what could be really fun to make? Or what could I do reasonably that I think would be fun?
Right.
I think that's
exactly.
more of an accurate way to put it.
So all the viewers out there, start sending in ideas to Brick Vault
Oh,
for
no.
other YouTube channels.
I mean, yes. But
We're looking for makeup tutorials, food reviews.
yeah. Oh man.
Hit all the popular destinations.
We've gotten a lot of weird ones, but it's for the most part it's good. We've gotten a lot of really good submissions, and yeah, there's actually people been putting in stuff just for top 10 like fan mock creations that I'm like, this is so good, I want this in the web store. Have you thought about applying for the web store? And they're like, what? Oh, I don't know, maybe. Like,
Yeah.
So that's happened too, where people not even expecting to do anything within the web store, but just recently somebody submitted a really cool build. They're like, I want this in the top 10 mocks. And I was like, I want this in the web store. I think this actually could be really, really good. So that's actually kind of fun. It kind of comes from every direction, really.
Yeah, it's always good to have that interaction with fans, but hopefully we'll see you around at some other shows in the future.
Yes, I want to. I want to go. I don't know if we'll be able to bring any of our big stuff, but
Something. You can bring a micro build. I know
Yeah.
you've got some micro build stuff in the other room.
that's true. I could bring a micro fleet with me. That'd be easy. Just, I think, I don't know if you probably went to Jalen's place. Did you ever interview?
Oh, we've talked to him at conventions.
Oh, at
Never actually
conventions.
made it to his build studio or anything.
His ATM6 just came in 2 suitcases. It was so funny to see. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's a crazy build though. It's so massive and everything. Yeah.
I mean, it's genius. He got it in 2 cases. I was just like, Jalen, he just walked up with like 2 cases to the convention. I'm like, what's in there? He's like, oh, you see. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he sets it on his giant crate display and it doesn't even look that big because the whole thing
I know,
is
yeah. Build something big and then build something bigger to dwarf
Right.
the big thing, yeah. That's sort of our plan for the future too, with like the ghost and the sandcrawler and stuff. We're gonna put that into a much larger environment. So, yeah.
Awesome stuff. Well, lots to look forward to then. Jack, it's been a real pleasure.
Yeah,
I really
man.
appreciate you sitting down with me
Yeah.
here. So for anyone who has not watched the channel or your social medias, where's the best place to find you online and check out some more of your stuff?
I mean, youtube.com/brickvault. That's the best way to go. Our YouTube channel. we've got some other social media stuff. Recently, we've actually become consistent a little bit with like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. But generally, yeah, our YouTube channel is where it's at. We do have a web store, brickvault.toys, if you want to see what those creations are that I've been talking about. And yeah, outside of that, I don't know.
That's where everything is. I think that's everybody go check it out there. And as always, there'll be links in the description of this video to check all that stuff out. Definitely encourage you to check out all the Brick Vault videos. They've got several years of content up there now, and it's lots of fun stuff to always keep an eye on. So if you haven't watched them before, certainly check it out now. But once again, it's been a real pleasure. So thanks so much for joining me, and thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you soon.